that you can hear me. Drop a comment now that my mic is unmuted if you can hear me. And I can see you guys coming in from YouTube. I can see you coming in from Instagram, and I can see you coming in from Facebook. So to know that you're here, to know that my video is working and my audio is working, just shoot me a quick comment so that I know it's working. Now we can. Living in Scottsdale, Arizona. Now you can hear me. Yeah, that's because apparently I was muted and then I saw that I wasn't. So I love it. Excellent. I haven't done a StreamYard, which is the technology that I'm using. I haven't done that in a long time, probably at least a year. And so I was a little bit rusty, and that's a little bit embarrassing for someone like me. So I like it. What's up, Austin? If ever you guys are curious about Tom Ferry coaching, you need to hit up my friend Austin because he is my go-to guy. But let me put my screen up and let's jump into the content because I jam-packed this in today between coaching calls and different things like that because it's so important and I want you guys to have this content that I wanted to be here. And so I see a lot of friendly faces online and I appreciate you guys being here. Let's jump into it. I got an email this morning from a person, and this is a snippet of what they emailed me. It says, I'm just overwhelmed trying to figure out how to get everything done. I'm dipping my toes in it all and all the buckets, not doing anyone very well, and I have zero pipeline. And I feel frantic all the time. Does anybody ever feel that way? Any of you out there right now feel like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get everything done? By the way, this person, from what I understand in the email they sent me, is doing everything. They're doing the editing of the videos, they're doing the writing of the newsletter, the writing of the contracts. Doesn't have a pipeline right now, but so that's the lead calling. That's everything. Doing it all and feeling like they're not doing much of it well. And so when they emailed me, I was like, yeah, tell me what's going on. And let's see if we can address some of that in today's call or in today's session. Because what that really looks like to me is that this person is chasing all of the rabbits, right? And when you chase all the rabbits, how many are you going to actually catch? Probably none, right? Like you're not going to catch any, if any of them, right? And so some of this is about narrowing your focus, figuring out where to put your time and your energy. And that's today's content. Today we're talking about reset and refocus. And we're going to do a couple things today that will, when you're done with this session, ideally you've got your GPS set. So I want you to ask yourself a question. And this is a question that I've been rolling with my coaching clients for, all week long. I've been doing this with my coaching clients. And the question that I'm asking them, as I also text Kelsey because she's needing something, she's listening. If you were to repeat your last 90 days, so your last 90 days, that's, Q1. If you were to repeat your last 90 days, would you hit your goals or would you miss them? Let that sink in. And you can even take your goals and start to break them down and think, okay, my health goals. Hopefully you all have health goals because one thing that I know is that a lot of realtors drink too much and eat too little or eat too much, right? But it's not a badge of pride that you went all day without eating. Right? Like you don't want that. But your health goals, right? Would you reach them? I love it. Gina says, yes, I'd hit them. That's the response that I hope that you get, right? I hope that you would absolutely crush your goals if you had a repeat of the last 90 days, right? Some of you may feel like, oh, I think I'd be exhausted, right? If I just had a repeat of the last 90 days with this part of my life, that would be a little bit scary. I don't know that I want to head down that trajectory. And so this is a good way for you to stop and think about, what was my focus? What was I working on? And is this the direction that I want to go in? So what we're going to do today, we're going to reflect on what worked and what didn't. We're going to take you through some simple exercises to help you identify that. We're going to look for patterns in your business and in your life that are either good or bad. And then I want you to plan the next 90 days, even if it's like on a napkin, and you rough it out, and then you can throw it into AI and make it, pretty. And then I want you to pick your guiding focus. And then you're going to leave today with a commitment. I don't want you to come and spend 30 minutes with me and then just run off and not take action. The goal is that you're going to take action on something. So the lens that I want you to spend the next little bit with me is not from a real estate agent. I want you to think about this from the lens of a CEO, right? A CEO does things different than the person that's just reactive, the person that's responding, reactive, right? I want you to think strategically. I want you to take a couple moments and set your GPS for where you want to go. Because if you don't set your GPS, you could end up in places that you don't want to be. And how fast did the first 3 months of this year go by? I mean, did you guys realize we're already 25% of the way through the year? How fast are the next 11 weeks, 12 weeks going to go? And then we'll be halfway through the year. And it can happen like that if you're not monitoring, if you're not course correcting. The best businesses that perform at a high level take time to reflect. So, from that email that I got this morning from this agent, one of the things that I saw happening was that there are three traps that I've seen time and time again. The first one is the perfectionism, or we could call that, the paralysis of I have to have everything perfect before I execute, before I take action, before I go to the next level, right? So this is from that email. I recorded the videos, but I think they're boring and dumb, so I'll probably just start over. Sometimes I say, just hit the live button, as our friend Tom Ferry would say, right? Like, just publish the video if it's not perfect. I mean, it needs to make sense, but you'll never know if you just keep sitting on it, right? And you already took the time to do it. So be careful of perfectionism, especially if you're the one doing everything. I don't know, drop a comment if you've ever felt like you were stuck in perfectionism. The next one, operation overload. I'm managing my Google business, my blog, my TikTok, my newsletter, my transactions, and I'm not doing any of them very well. Not having systems in place, not having the right people to help you get through these things, that is operational overload, right? Many times I spend at least every 90 days, but many times it's at least once a month. And a lot of my coaching clients know this. Okay, what are we trying to accomplish in the next 30 days? Like, let's just break it down. What are my big, hairy, audacious goals? And what are the lead measures and the lag measures that are going to get me there? And who can help me do that? Because it shouldn't always be you, right? And then there is the pipeline pressure. And this is the one that we see all the time, right? It's money, no money, money, no money. And that pipeline pressure can come off as commission breath. And now all of a sudden you have this scarcity mindset and you're attracting all of these clients that are mean and rude and don't appreciate you, instead of, being able to just work with people that you want to work with, doing things that you want to be doing and helping those people, and they appreciate you because you don't have that pipeline pressure, right? Or that, commission breath, if you will. So those are three common traps that I see. Think about if they're showing up in your business. I saw some really fascinating research come out from 1000 Watt, and there were two pieces of information that made me feel like I should take time and think about how I want to use this in my business over the next 90 days. I believe that there's opportunity hiding in the noise, right? It's very noisy out there right now. I mean, we've got all the stuff that's going on with the government, and whether you like Trump or you hate Trump, it's out there, right? But then you have all the other things that are going on in your life too. So you've got government issues. You've got, is there going to be a recession? What's going on with tariffs? What's going on? Oh my gosh, it's so crazy. And I was talking to my girls at Gateway yesterday, and we're like, yeah, we try to avoid the noise of the news. Sometimes you just can't escape it, right? It's all around you. That being said, there's opportunity hiding in the noise. 38% of sellers want to move but feel stuck. That's an invitation for a problem for us to solve. Take some time to think about, how are you solving that problem? What can you do? How can you help your clients who feel stuck, right? Buyers are facing a similar issue. This one's fascinating. 87% of buyers, according to 1000 Watts March survey, said that they have not picked an agent yet. That's an invitation for us to show up and solve problems, right? This is going to come into play because what's your marketing strategy for quarter 2? How are you speaking to these sellers that feel stuck? If you're in Buffalo, New York, there's no listings, right? The listings, they're crazy. One of my clients, they sold a home for $105,000 over the list price because the buyers are so frantic to find homes. Meanwhile, if you're in Phoenix with rising inventory, or you're in Atlanta, or you're in Savannah, right? You're in some of these other markets where it's like, oh, inventory's going up, right? How are you speaking to those sellers? How are you speaking to those buyers? What value are you bringing so that you can be the agent of choice? There is opportunity hiding in the noise. You have to be focused to find it, right? So the first thing that you guys are going to do, by the way, I know that there's a resource that I'm going to give you guys that you can go through and answer these questions. It'll help guide you. And at the end, we'll have a QR code that'll go out, or actually, I believe Kelsey will make sure, she's the magic behind everything that happens. She'll make sure that you get the flyer. But some of the questions that it's going to ask you for your performance check-in is, how many appointments did you set? Now, this one's really interesting because I've seen a lot of different strategies. So the first one is, if you don't know how many appointments you set in the first 90 days of the year, you need to think about, how am I going to make it happen, right? If that's like a paper calendar, an electronic calendar. In fact, I'm curious. Tell me in the comments, how do you track your appointments set and your appointments met? How are you able to go back and look? Does your CRM allow you to do that? I know I see on here, we've got some people that I know are Follow-Up Boss users, that I know are Bold Trail users. How are you tracking your appointments so that you can actually measure, right? Because appointments is an indicator of your future success. If you're not going on appointments, you're not writing contracts. If you're not writing contracts, you're not getting a paycheck, right? That's super important. So how do you track your appointments? Do you know how many appointments you need to go on to hit your goals? Those are two simple measures that we should be looking at. But in addition to that, I'm also going to look at my actual results, right? How many listings did I sign? How many buyer rep agreements did I sign in the first 90 days? And how many closings did I have? Those are the lag measures, right? Those tell me that I either hit that first 25% goals, or I didn't. And those are really important numbers to know. And if you don't have a way to track them, I encourage you to figure out and to make it a goal for quarter 2. How am I going to track these? What are the tools that I'm going to use? And how often am I going to look at it? Another thing that I really like to do is, I like to go into my CRM and count how many people I have and how many people I've added, because this is also a clear sign of if I'm generating enough opportunities, right? So if I started the year with 300 people in my database, and I got through the first 90 days and I added 25 people, is that enough? And I look at the 25 people that I added. What were the lead sources, right? Because the lead sources also matter. I need to know what works. So I'm going to look at my closed, and I'm going to track the lead source. Because if I see that I've closed business from open houses, I've closed referrals, well, I know those 2 lead sources are working, right? And then I look at the people that I added to my CRM. And if I can pull it back to the lead source, then I know this is something I probably should continue to do because it's going to move my business forward. So at the easiest level, these are some of the things that I track, right? Now, we also look at our P&L and those kind of things. Those are super important as well. But at a minimum, as I'm reflecting on the past 90 days, I'm going to look at these numbers because they're going to tell a story. I also want to give myself a pat on the back and celebrate my biggest win, right? What did I actually do well? Where did I see movement in my business? And not just in my business, I would also be looking at your personal life. I'd be looking at your health, your spirituality, your finances, your business, right? The relationships that matter most to you. You can take stock and say, okay, right? Am I there? Now, this would also be a good time for you to pull out your business plan. I'm super curious, how many of you guys have looked at your business plan this year, right? You put together your business plan probably the end of 2024. I know that's when my clients do it. We do it in Q4. And have you gone back and looked at your business plan and said, okay, in the first 90 days, I was going to do X, Y, and Z. I have a goal for this year to do this. This is a perfect time to pull out that business plan. Pull out your business plan. Make sure you're on track. Make sure you're doing the things that when you were inspired, that you are actually doing it. Now, oftentimes we'll do a SWOT analysis, and I most of the time do this when we're business planning. It's also a great time to do it when you finish a quarter. So again, this is that check-in. I'm going to focus on my strengths. And I just have to say that my chat GPT is very inspiring. I think that this person has more abs than are actually possible to have abs, but I liked it, so I put it in here. It's a great AI generated image. She's very inspiring, right? But I want you to think about, what are my strengths? What did I do really good? Was I consistently booking appointments every week? Did I hit my workouts? Did I stick to my meal prep? Did I show up powerfully to my appointments, right? Were the referrals strong and coming in? Did I get the 5-star reviews, right? That's a big one. If you don't have a review goal, you're just winging it, right? How many reviews are you going to get in the next 90 days? Because that's going to help your business. So we're going to look at our strengths and we're going to see what did we do that worked really well. Then you're going to look at your opportunity, like, where did I miss the mark? Where could I improve, right? Maybe I wasn't as consistent in my lead follow-up, right? Maybe I didn't have my hours of power organized. And so when I went in, it was inefficient, right? I didn't use my CRM. Maybe some of you guys are struggling with calendar chaos, right? That's not strategic thinking. That's being very reactive to what's going on in your business and not strategically moving it forward, right? Maybe you weren't present with your family. Maybe you need to have better boundaries. This is something that I often see as well with highly driven individuals, is that, they say yes to a lot of different things, and that yes is taking away from somewhere else in their life. So be honest with yourself. And then look at where you have opportunity to grow, right? What would it look like if I sat down and planned out all of my Google business posts for the next 90 days and then put them into a scheduling tool and I didn't have to think about it, right? If you want to be more consistent with your marketing, could you batch create some marketing, right? How could you strengthen your hour of power? On a call that I had today with a client, we talked about really focusing in on her 554, right? 5 people you know, 5 people you don't know, 4 lead follow up. And would that be enough? And if she stuck to her hour of power 90 days from now, what would her business look like? But that opportunity came from distilling down. If we could only pick 3 things to do this week, what's something that we could do that would increase the likelihood that she would have conversations with people that would lead to appointments? And of course, picking up the phone, right? Of course, picking up the phone is going to lead to opportunities. So do you need to organize yourself to have a strong hour of power, right? And then we look at threats. What are the threats to your business? So here's some of the threats that in my one-on-one calls that I do with people that I heard this week and maybe last week. But One of them is, and I had this in my own. My daughter is going to be graduating high school next month. And as I was planning out my 12 weeks, I was like, oh my gosh, holy cow, that's happening. That's happening soon. I have to backwards map the events that are going to allow me to not be stressed, right? But is a vacation a threat? Potentially a vacation could be a threat to your business. Have you ever found yourself like, oh, I'm going on vacation next week and I don't want to generate too many leads because if I leave town and they want to see homes, I'm not going to be able to help them, right? Well, that's just Murphy's Law, you guys. That's Murphy's Law of real estate. Go on vacation, you'll have a ton of business. But in all seriousness, right? Every time I leave, someone wants to list their house, a buyer wants to see a property. So I don't stop prospecting. I don't stop making my calls because I have an upcoming vacation. But threats could be other things. I had an agent tell me that their greatest opportunity coming up was learning how to use AI in their business. And I thought, you know what, that's absolutely a fantastic opportunity. And then when I asked them about the threats, they said, my biggest threat to my business is the agent that is using AI. That was a mic drop moment. They knew the opportunity was there and their biggest threat. And I thought about two agents side by side, two people working on their business. One is, an AI first mindset, figuring out how to be more efficient, digging in, doing the work, and the other one is not. 90 days from now, which agent is going to be further along? Yeah. So do a quick SWOT analysis. Find one or two opportunities. And then look ahead at your calendar. Is there anything coming up? Is there any process in your business that could be improved that might be a threat to you? Right? Maybe you have a bunch of listings coming up, and if you don't leverage those listings, you'll sell all those homes and you won't have any leads because you didn't do the marketing and you didn't do the work that you needed to do to take advantage of those listings. That could be a potential threat to your business if you don't have a process to leverage your listings, right? So once you do your SWOT analysis, I want you to ask yourself three simple questions, right? What do I need to start doing? Based on the opportunities and the threats that, that came up, what do I need to start doing, right? Maybe I need to start using my CRM, start logging my calls, start putting aside CEO time every single week. Well, what's CEO time? CEO time is when I'm working on my business and not working in my business, right? I'm not reactive to the showings, reactive to the offers, reactive to everything that's going on, but I'm setting aside and I'm working on a process. I'm planning my content. I'm building a system. I'm doing something that my future self will be glad that I did, right? What do you need to start doing? It could be as simple as I need to start waking up when my alarm clock goes off and stop hitting the snooze button. I need to look ahead at my calendar and make sure that I'm prepared for this coming week. Maybe I need to have some boundaries so that my buyers aren't bossing me around and, have me all over town, right? That's something that I see a lot. We're not order takers anymore, right? There was a period when the buyers were so plentiful that, I think my friend Marianne in Savannah, she calls it a Pop-Tart agent. The agent would just pop from one buyer to the next, just taking orders. And now we have to be a guide to those buyers. We have to guide them through this process, help them see our value. So what do you need to start doing? Maybe that's having an actual buyer consultation where you can set up your authority as the agent of choice and the guide to help them win in this marketplace. Also ask yourself, what do you need to stop doing, right? Do I need to stop saying yes to every opportunity? Do I need to stop being distracted by the newest, shiniest object? Maybe I need to stop spending money, right? Stop spending money on things that you can't throw money at a pipeline problem. It's going to take some consistency. It's going to take some skill. It's going to take some intention to solve a pipeline problem. Maybe you should stop scrolling social media. right? Like, what does that look like? To just shut it down and say, enough is enough, right? Maybe you need to stop skipping your workouts because you're so busy. Your health matters. I want you to be healthy. And then I want you to think about, what should I continue doing? There are things that you shouldn't give up on, right? If you started calling expired, say in the beginning of the year, and you start to get some momentum, continue doing that, right? Success leaves clues, right? So do I need to continue showing up in Instagram stories continuously, right? If you're following a specific strategy, do I need to continue to surround myself with individuals who are going to push forward, who are going to have a positive mindset? We all know the people that just complain about everything and they're doom and gloom. That's not helping your business. That's not helping your mindset, right? So continue to surround yourself with strong individuals that are going to push forward and have accountability around that. That's going to be one of the things that I'm going to ask you to do today. So I want you to find an accountability partner, right? And continue to prioritize sleep, hydration, protein, right? Your energy needs to be there for you to show up powerfully. So let's talk about that framework. Let's go back to the email that I got this morning from the agent that is just all over the place and doesn't feel like they're doing anything well. So the first thing that I would say is, if you're not sure where to start, pick one platform to master. Choose one content platform that moves the needle most for your audience, right? So I coach a mother-daughter group, and actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I coach a couple. And the mother is, every time she posts on Facebook, she gets leads, she gets business, and that's not for the daughter. Daughter's more popular on other platforms like TikTok and Instagram, right? So I want you to just pick one platform that you can master that moves the business, right? For this one, for this agent, they really wanted to double down on YouTube. That was a goal, right? So if that's the case, then what would it look like to go all in on YouTube? How could you master that one platform? What systems could you put in place to really move the needle on that, right? Now, when it comes to your pipeline, pick one prospecting plan to commit to. Figure out what that is. Is it open houses? I want you to open up your calendar from now until the end of June. I want you to plan out how many open houses you need to do, right? When are you going to do them? When am I going on vacation? When am I taking days off? I can do open house. And by the way, you guys, open houses don't have to be done on a weekend. Okay? They don't have to be done on a weekend. You can do an open house during the week. There's a husband and wife team here in the Phoenix metro area that I've always admired. They would do open houses from like 3 to 5, 3 to 6 during high traffic time. They'd find a school or something. They'd say, when school get out, let's do an open house while school's getting out. And they'd have massive success. You do not have to do an open house on the weekend. I'm not saying avoid weekends, but if you have busy things going on in your life, don't be afraid to do an open house during the week, right? But figure out what you're going to do, get it into your schedule, right? And don't deviate from it. Give it time, go in. You have to plan when you're going to prospect, because if you're just waiting to feel inspired and waiting for it to happen, that's not going to happen, right? So build your pipeline before you have the perfect brand, right? Build your pipeline before you want to. Figure out what it is. So one pipeline priority, one prospecting plan, and one platform. That's the power of one framework. Do that for 90 days and you can add more, right? Like, get really good at something before you just keep adding on. Don't overcommit. So in the next 90 days, this is where I want you to set your GPS, and this is where I want you to get clarity. So the first thing I do is I go back to my business plan. Looking at my business plan, I need to be more than 50% through my goals by the end of quarter 2. So what's that number, right? How much income have I deposited into my bank account? How many appointments do I need to go on in the next 90 days? How many appointments do I need to set to be able to go on those appointments, right? Because set and met are two different metrics. What lead sources am I going to focus on? How many people do I want to add to my database? What's my marketing message, right? What are the campaigns that I'm going to roll out? If I have a geographic farm, let's backwards map when I need to get out my postcards, when I need to get out my different pieces, right? Yesterday I was doing planning with an agent that just did a seller seminar. They did 2 seller seminars and already did 3 listing appointments. They'll find out today if they got the 1 listing, and have 2 upcoming listing appointments. And I'm like, when can we do another seller seminar? Open up the calendar. What's your vacations? What do you have going on? Right? My kids are going to be out of school soon. Here in Arizona, we get out in May. And so a threat to my business is a change in my routine, right? I have to look at that. You need to look at that as well, right? When are we doing those seller seminars? When are we doing those open house? What's my marketing? And then backwards map it. For this person to do the seller seminar, we have to go back several weeks so we can get the postcards out, so we can do the Facebook campaign, so we can do these other pieces. You can just launch a seller seminar for next week, but we want these to be successful, right? And then think about the systems that you want to improve. Just pick one, right? Maybe it's putting together a checklist for your open house. So every time I do an open house, this is what I do. Maybe it's a listing launch checklist. Maybe you just want to improve your lead follow-up system. So it's like, I'm going to pick the lead follow-up inside my CRM for open house leads. I'm going to write the emails, the text messages, the cadence. I'm going to just pick one thing to improve, something that my future self will thank me for, right? And then I want you to pick something that'll stretch you, something that's like excites you, or something that even scares you. I think of this one client that set a goal in they wanted to do they wanted to sell a property that was over $1 million. They had never sold a property over $1 million, and they set that goal. It was scary to them. And the last month of the year, they closed their biggest sale that they had ever closed. And it was all because we just put it out there. Like, what would happen if I fill in the blank? What would happen if I hired an assistant? What would happen if I increased my price point? Write something that scares you, something that excites you. And then if you don't already have a word for the year or a word for the quarter, I suggest you pick one, something that's going to inspire you. Focus, momentum. My words, clarity, all versions. I want clear scans when I see my doctor. I want to be clear on my goals, clear on my intentions, clear on my prospecting, clear on my marketing. I want clarity around how I spend my time. And I make different decisions based on that word. So find something that excites you, right? Now I want you, when you're writing all of this down and you're following through with the worksheet that I'm going to give you, I want you to take a moment and to visualize. I want you to imagine it's 90 days from now. What does your pipeline look like? How many people did you help, right? How many closings did you have? What did your marketing look like? How do you feel because of the success that you've had, because of the discipline that you had, the consistency that you had? And what changed? What was it inside of you that changed? What was the one thing that you did that made all the difference for you to have the confidence that Gina had when she said, if I repeated my last 90 days, I would hit my goals? Figure out what that is, right? So here's what I'd like you to do. I want you to find an accountability partner. Find somebody in your life that you can check in with, that you can text, that you can call and say, hey, I really want to do, 6 open houses in the next 30 days. Will you hold me accountable to that? Can I check in with you? Will you ask me about that? When you share publicly something that you're working on, accountability increases. So bring someone into your world. Don't try to do it on your own, right? If you have a coach, check in with your coach. Then I want you to go into your calendar right now and set a reminder. 30 days, 45 days from now, go back and check. What did I say I was going to do? Am I still on target? 7 days goes by fast. Trust me, I know, because I have these coaching calls with some of these people every single week, and we're like, where did the time go? Right? And many of them work on their homework like right before the call, which is also funny. But um, take your worksheet that I'm going to give you that you're going to fill out and print it off. Put it on your whiteboard. Look at it. If you don't go back and look at it, it's kind of like your business plan. If you don't go back and look at it, you're going to forget what you're working on, right? And then, of course, already go into your calendar and figure out when you're going to do this again. It should be towards the end of June, right? As we move into quarter 3. Plan ahead what you're going to look at, what you're going to review, right? Clarity comes from action, not overthinking. And here's the thing, I don't need you to master everything. I just want you to take action and move the needle on one thing. Just finish one thing. And when you finish that, start the next. That may look like publishing an imperfect video. That may mean that you send out a newsletter that is not the prettiest, right? It doesn't have all the magic links, but you got your message through. Take the messy action that puts you in front of people. Just get started. Don't wait for it to be perfect. And don't try to do too much at one time. Like I said, follow the focus plan. Pick one thing, right? Here's the deal. I've been ruminating on this since I first started doing 90-day reviews a couple weeks ago. Your life and your business doesn't need more noise. There's so much noise out there, right? It doesn't need more noise. It needs you. It needs you focused and on purpose. Really thinking about what you want to achieve. Making the hard decisions to ruthlessly cut things that are not aligned with your goals. What do you need to cut that's not going to help you get to your goals? What would your life look like if you were really focused? What would your relationships look like? What would your health look like? Right? Be on purpose. Be consistent. Right? That's something that I know will help you. Okay, so how do you get the worksheet? I'm sure Kelsey will email it out to everybody on my email newsletter to make sure you have it. But one of the easiest ways you can do it is you can go to my Instagram, and if you send me a message and you just DM me reset, it will send you the worksheet that you can fill out. It is a Google worksheet, so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make a copy, and then you can edit it inside Google Docs. Otherwise, you can print it out, old school, fill it out, get focused, right? I would love for you to share it with me. If you want to send it to me, I'll give you feedback on it. The goal is just get clear on what you want to accomplish in the next 90 days. Set your GPS, right? Figure out, what do I need to do to move the needle so that you don't have that stress of of an empty pipeline. You don't have the stress of being reactive in your business. You're moving it forward. So I appreciate you guys being here today. I appreciate you taking the time to spend 30 minutes with me to do your 90-day reset. I've given you the information now, and you're going to my Instagram and getting a DM with the workshop. You have the information now. I want you to take it and run and to have an incredible, successful quarter 2. I'll see you guys later.